Oh no. Oh my days. I feel so embarrassed. I've been talking for the past 5 minutes. This is the second time that this has happened. You were here waiting? How embarrassing. Where have you been? I've been here for the past 5 minutes talking. You heard every wall through the wall? Oh, now I'm going to have to repeat myself and it's going to be embarrassing because I know that Zoe heard me. Okay, one more time. Don't giggle, I can hear you giggling. How's it going, Sparrow? Less than. Manga Cat, I hope you're doing well. I hope you're okay. Circle, Callum, Drink, Sazzle. Man, I'm so annoyed and so embarrassed. You know what it is? When you stream, you have to press the go live button, start streaming button on your streaming software. With YouTube, you also then have to press the go live button on YouTube, which I thought I did, but clearly I didn't. That's right, we will talk to ourselves. Oh man, 5 minutes and now I gotta repeat myself, knowing that Zoe's already heard everything that I've said. Moving to Twitch. One button, live instantly. Okay, so today is Wednesday, my dudes, which means it is book club day. We selected 3 manga series, Sakamoto Days, Kaiju No. 8, and One Punch Man. It was 2 volumes for Sakamoto Days and Kaiju No. 8, and I ended up reading 4 volumes of One Punch Man. And I'm going to keep it relatively spoiler free in the sense of I don't want to spoil too much because I feel like if you are told the first couple of volumes, like the details, me personally, I'm less inclined to pick it up immediately and I'll normally wait if it doesn't sound interesting to me. I'd rather go in blind and then that's it. You keeping yourself busy? That's good, Manga. That's the best thing you can do. Be there for your family and let them be there for you, and you take your time. You read Kaiju 1 to 3 and you didn't get around to One Punch Man? That's absolutely fine. I will not be spoiling it too much. I think the first couple of Wednesday book clubs I spoiled a few things, but this time I don't think I will. I'll do the general premise. I want to start off with One Punch Man. I said I read 4 volumes. The premise is simple. Saitama is a superhero for fun. And his gimmick is he punches things. And when he punches things, they die immediately. One punch, that's all it takes. He punches them, as soon as he makes contact, they cease to exist. They die. They explode and all sorts. A lot of the monsters are very, very similar in theme, in the sense that this dude, they normally look like this, big humanoid steroid gym goers, and then they unleash their like superpowers, and then they become not aesthetically, in appearance wise, they look more powerful, but it doesn't work like that. It has the same setup as like Dragon Ball or like Demon Slayer, but instead of the struggling battle and then seeing the enemy power up and the hero struggling even more or potentially losing, someone else jumping in, or the hero tapping into their power, Saitama just says, yeah, that's nice, bro, touch, and then they just die. And that's pretty much it. It starts off like Monster of the Week. The first volume is like 5 chapters, I want to say. It is 7 chapters, and I think you get 6. You get 6 bad guys. Every chapter is basically a new bad guy. He punches them once, they die. And then the last chapter, the last two chapters actually, is like a continuing story, and it goes into volume 2. And then it kind of just gets longer and longer. Rather than every chapter is a new monster of the week, it's every like 4 or 5 chapters, and there's a story. And the premise is he starts off knowing about the monster, and then in the last arc, I guess, the last chapter of that story, he punches him and they die. And in some ways, it seems pointless. Why are you reading this? But then you get introduced to a bunch of characters, which become long-term characters. They show up much, much later in other volumes. And it kind of builds the groundwork. The first 2 volumes, Saitama doesn't work. He's just a superhero for fun. And then he finds a purpose to be a superhero. One thing I will say is, obviously, what we're reading now is Murata's not retelling in some aspects, but it's not the original story. So the art is phenomenal. I am up to date, up to like volume 25 or 26, I think. Well, I'm up to 25, 26. And even reading the first 3 volumes, I can tell that the art is great. It's absolutely amazing, but it gets so much better later on. He just really knows how to show off powerful, impactful characters, moments like punches, action sequences, and even just like people standing and looking intimidating. He's just really good at showing that visually. One thing I will say though is that I've made a couple of videos on One Punch Man, and not a big spoiler, but I want to just show a couple, or maybe just one thing, if I can find one in volume 1. There is one. I've mentioned that there's only one way to watch or read One Punch Man, and I stand by it, and it is digitally. Not only digitally does he include extra content, as in extra pages, but what you're missing, you can't really see it in this one, but it is here. But what you're missing, which is really frustrating, is this. The gutter. This is Saitama standing next to Genos, who is like a friend of his, becomes like his subordinate, I guess. And you can't really see it, but he's blowing up a building, but a lot of it gets lost to the gutter. And this is pretty good because you can kind of see Saitama on one side, you can see a building on the other side, and you kind of vaguely see the blast that he's shooting out. There are other scenes. I did take a picture on my phone, but I think if I can find it quickly. There are other scenes where it's completely lost to the gutter. This is fine. I think mangaka tend to have this in mind. Maybe not this one because it is released digitally online. But when you have like a 3/4 pages, so you have like all this. So really you're only losing the bottom half to the gutter, and then you have like a little panel here, which is great. He uses those a few times. See, this is fine because like the page is split in half, top and bottom, and you can kind of see like there's like fighting in the forest, and then this is like a close-up of Supersonic. But there are some, I really want to find the main one that really irked me. It was a picture of Saitama shocked, and this. It's really disappointing because when you read the part before then, and then when you turn the page, it's supposed to be super funny, and it ends up being very disappointing. Because the gag it hits online when you read it, and it's just not there because you can't see his whole face, you know? And it happens all the time. There's a scene much, much later where it's just Saitama punching someone. The majority of the pages is white. And unless you read it online, you can't see Saitama in the physical version. It just looks like 2 white pieces of paper because he is exactly in the middle, which is right where the gutter is. And it's terrible. That's the only irk I have with this, and it's not even a big one either. I think just because the art is so beautiful, it's just so wasted. And I don't think when Murata draws this, he doesn't always have it in mind, especially as of late. Think you prefer the digital version? Yeah, I think I wish I actually had it because I should have prepared. But I didn't have enough time. I was making dinner. There's a few scenes. I'll find it and I'll show it off next time. There's a few scenes that are removed from the physical version. In Volume 3, Saitama meets a character called Supersonic. He's a ninja. He's kind of a bad guy. He's the equivalent to Team Rocket, although he's very, very strong, very, very powerful. By Saitama's means, he's very, very weak. But there's a point where he's moving super fast around the forest, and Saitama's like looking at him whilst he's moving. And when you're reading it digitally, it's done panel by panel. And if you look at if you skip every page, or go through every page, it's almost like a movie, like a frame by frame rotation of Saitama. The camera's like panning around his head while Supersonic is darting all over the place. And that's completely removed in this scene, in this volume. And there's a few other moments as well throughout the series that just don't translate well to physical. Probably because it would be lost to the gutter, and it's like 8, 9 to 10 pages of cinematic 2D images. And to lose that to the gutter would be disappointing. Regardless, One Punch Man is fantastic. The first 4 volumes gives you a good idea if you're going to enjoy the series. I mean, the first 2 are pretty good. But if you're getting bored of the Monster of the Week, it changes up in Volume 4. Volume 1 to 3 probably introduces Saitama and the world and how everything works. And then we have Volume 4, which like starts off the next big arc. It's this Fishman arc, and it's really good. There's loads of characters that are introduced. Loads of good guys, loads of bad guys. And then, again, not really a spoiler, Saitama comes in and boop, punches him out. He'll just do his thing. I think at the end of it, the conclusion will always be the same. Saitama will turn up like Goku when he protects anyone from the bad guy, and then he wins the battle, eventually. Panel by panel view. Born, dude, how's it going? Where have you been? I hope work's not too busy. Yeah, panel by panel view can really be amazing when the time is taken to actually incorporate it. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I'm sure you can see loads of GIFs. Let me see if I can find a GIF. One Punch GIF. The thing is, you type it in and all you do is get. This is it. It's not a big thing. But this is what I was talking about. This is completely removed from the manga. But when you look at it digitally, it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, it's like 8, 9, 10. Can't count exactly. Around 10, 9 panels. These are all double spread as well. That's just completely lost in physical form. Imagine turning the page 10 times. I don't know if it would be as enjoyable, but when you're pressing the left button or the next button, it just goes so smoothly, because obviously it's in the same like position. It looks like a movie and it feels like a movie as well. But yeah, that's completely been taken out of the physical version. You'll still read it physically and you'll have a great time. You'll love it. You absolutely will love it. I think what I'll do, I'll go through, there was I think I saw a Reddit thread that spoke about it, which is why I ended up making a video like 2 years ago. I'll find that Reddit thread and it tells you what chapters include the extra content. And then I would just say, once you get to those points, you can just read it. Because it doesn't really add anything. It just adds a little bit more emphasis. There's one where Saitama breaks into like this spaceship. And then similar to what I just showed you, it has a zoom in of the build of the spaceship and it gets closer and closer and closer and closer and closer to where Saitama is. And again, it's just like 10 panels of zoom in. But it doesn't really add anything. Not only does it like zoom in like a bird's eye view, the camera goes from like bird's eye view and then it like changes to like the back of his head and then Saitama turns around and it looks great. It looks fantastic. I think I want to show you. This is probably one of my favorite panels. This one here. It's Saitama trying to squash a bunch of mosquitoes. And, well, one specific mosquito, but he can't get it. And he gets very, very frustrated. It's one of those things that I really appreciate with mangaka. This is every mangaka. When they tell a story, this, regardless if it's a whole chapter, a couple of pages, or a few panels on one page, without any dialogue. And you can feel the frustration or the emotion just by looking at the images. Shuzo Oshimi is fantastic at doing it as well. Murata's just as great. Maybe it's a little bit easier with shonen. With that power is useless against a tiny fly. You ever tried to squash a fly? Or a mosquito? It's hard. Even when you get it. You just still flies away. Frustrating. You ain't super strong? I believe you are. Okay, the second series that I picked up was Sakamoto Days. Now, this got an anime coming out soon, so if you are interested in picking it up, I don't know if it will not sell out, but if it will be like out of stock the first few volumes, I would suggest picking it up. It's great shonen. Sakamoto is a retired hitman, and the first 2 volumes focus on a bunch of assassins trying to kill him, because once you are part of the assassination world, you cannot escape it, sadly. And the only way to escape is to either die in action or be killed by an assassin if you decide to leave. And that's what everyone does. He ends up running a family like convenience store, and the first couple of chapters are just people trying to kill him. And that's all it is. Now this is like, One Punch Man is quite funny in the sense of like the action. This is more comedy, like slice of life a lot of the time. And I must admit, similar to One Punch Man, I've read the first 2 volumes this week, and I would say I didn't enjoy them as much as I originally did because it gets so much better. I would say it has a strong start, and then once you get to like volume 5, 6, you think to yourself, actually, this is a pretty weak start in comparison, or it's just a strong start and it gets even better. Sakamoto gets better and better. Yeah, I think it does. It finds its purpose in sense of its storytelling. It knows where it's going, and it never lingers too long. The first volume, focuses with Sakamoto Days being in the convenience store most of the time. And then the second volume, he's out of the convenience store for the majority of it. And it just continues on. And I think one of the more interesting things is that Sakamoto is older. Not much older, he's 27, but his appearance-wise, he looks way old. He's got grey hair, he's a little bit chubby, moustache and everything. A little bit mysterious. Sakamoto is another one of those that at certain moments, you can have those gifs and panels that, yeah, they do look great. They kind of flow into one. Yes, like panel upon panel. The only thing was with this, rather than it being double pages, they are like individual smaller panels. It does have great choreography, I would say, yeah. There is one character, Shin, this dude here. This dude. He is, within the first 2 volumes, the only one that has some sort of power. Everybody else is just a normal human with, albeit, abnormal strength and, you know, a keen eye. Shin is not telepathic. Is it telepathic? He can read minds. What's it called? A cleric? No. That's something completely different. That's a healer. He is... What's the word what I'm looking for? I've drawn a blank. He can read minds. And that's the only supernatural part about it. John Wick? John Wick. He's psychic. Yes, he is psychic. He's a psychic Pokemon. If you can look past that, everything else is like embedded in realism. Even to the fights, there's a really cool sequence here. See if I can find it real quick. I should have nailed these down. Here it is. There's a scene where Sakamoto comes to protect Shin, and he zaps all these guys with a taser. And then he's bombarded by a bunch of people. And what you can see here is that when he's bombarded, he sees the gun pointed to his face. He lunges at it, dismantles it, and at the same time punches the dude in the face. You can see here. Oh, wrong one. You can see here he sees the pistol, and then he goes towards the dude. He approaches him. And you can see his left arm approach the gun, and in the last panel you can see the bits flicking out in the side, showing that he's dismantled it while still thrusting all in one go. Now that's going to look super good animated, but it's stuff like that that shows it's like not too action shonen. You know, people aren't flying, people aren't doing like side flips and stuff like that. It's mostly like hand-to-hand combat. And despite his weight, he's extremely fast. Now, there's a couple of things that I didn't like. One of them probably the character proportions, but that's down to the art, and he does get better. There's a few characters that look a little bit strange. In volume 2, there's a lady that's introduced. She looks kind of strange. Some of the action scenes all look good, but there are certain moments where characters are sitting, they'll look like they have longer legs than they do torso. Obviously, there are people like that, but it looks strange. Should I give Sakamoto Days another shot? If you got 1 to 4, dude, I think you should. I can't remember what happens in volume 3 and 4, but I think at least give the first 2 volumes a shot. And if you're not interested after that, the action and the story gets better. It gets a little bit more intense, like new characters get introduced, organizations, that kind of thing. But if you're already not interested, at least in Sakamoto and Shin, then you might not necessarily be interested in the rest. Yeah, other than the art a couple of times, I think if I'm being honest, Shin was a little bit, not annoying, just the fact that they gave him clairvoyance. It sounded more like a gimmick at first, being able to, that was it, clairvoyance. Being able to read minds. But yeah, to me it just doesn't make sense because everything else is so set in reality. Right, you probably don't have, well, you might have assassins in real life. That's the only thing that is like supernatural. Also, what I appreciate is that Sakamoto at the beginning doesn't talk a lot. So it kind of, I guess, Shin's ability to read his mind adds to a lot of the comedy, because Shin will sometimes just read his mind and Sakamoto will be killing somebody in his head and Shin will see it. And obviously as the reader, it will visualize it in a panel. And you get a lot of funny moments like that. Sometimes Shin will say something stupid and Sakamoto will think, "You're an idiot, let me kill you." And he kills him in his mind, and you see that. Like he'll stab him in the chest or he'll punch him. And then in the next panel will be Shin freaking out saying, why are you thinking about killing me? All I said is one silly thing. In contrast to that, Sakamoto kills a lot of people in his mind, but his family rules don't allow him to kill anyone. Since he's retired, he's not allowed to do any kind of killing. No Hobbit, he's probably watching the football right now. He really enjoyed Sakamoto Days. He said he's going to continue it. He mentioned it reminds him of John Wick. Now, I've not watched John Wick, but I've heard a lot of other people mention Sakamoto Days also reminds them of John Wick. How many John Wicks are there? There are 4? I just haven't got time for movies nowadays. Classic Hobbit. I feel like this phrase classic Hobbit is classic in of itself. Watch John Wick. Maybe I will one day. There's 4, right? Is there 4? I'm not going to Google. I'm not going to Google it. There was one other thing. That was it. I guess it didn't really upset me that much, but at the end of volume 2, they were in a theme park, and that continued for the majority of volume 2. Sorry, at the end of volume 1, they entered a theme park, and that continued through most of volume 2. And during that, they got attacked 3 times by 3 different assassins. And I didn't really like any of them in particular. I thought they were quite uninteresting. But then, like I said, I have read further along up to volume 10, so I'm interested in. I think the characters that you will get introduced are a lot better than what we see in volume 1 and 2. But overall, I think it's great. I'm going to continue this one. I'm probably going to continue reading it until I get up to the most recent volume, which is volume 11 that just come out. I don't know where my Sakamoto is. Where did you put it? But yeah, Sakamoto Days, fantastic. Absolutely loved it. And then the last one, Kaiju number 8. Volume 12 just come out. So I'm happy to reread this. This is actually the second time that I've read it this year, and the 4th time that I'm reading Kaiju number 8. I think by the time I reread this series again, I would have read up to volume 8 4 times. Now, if Sakamoto Days is probably like 50% comedy, 50% action, comedy also including the slice of life, I would say One Punch Man is probably similar, less slice of lifey, more maybe 70% action. This is kind of like maybe 60% action and 40% comedy. Volume 12, did I say volume 12? Sorry, I think there's volume 10 of Kaiju number 8, volume 12 of Sakamoto Days. This is great. It's your typical, I don't know what you call the type of series. What is Naruto? Like a demon series in a way. I don't think you could just call it a kaiju. I guess you could call it kaiju with like the main character being a demon. The main character, obviously, turns into the thing that they're all fighting. A kaiju. Within the first chapter, the way he turns into a kaiju is comedy gold. And to be fair, I want to watch the first episode so I can see it in animation. What I will say is that no matter how many series I've read, movies, films, etc., I don't think I've ever seen a man pee out of his nipples. Mind you of My Hero Academia while reading first couple of volumes? Yeah, I would agree that. I would agree with that. Kafka works for the Kaiju disposal unit. So Kaijus come in, they get eliminated, and then Kafka's company, or the company he works for, come in and they dismantle the Kaiju. They take it apart, dispose of it in however they can. And then somebody comes and, rebuilds all the buildings and that kind of thing. That's what he does. He tried to get into the task force. The task force are the people that tackle the Kaijus, and it didn't work out for him. However, this year, for some reason, the age limit has gone from 32 to 33. A strange age limit to have. You'd think it'd be 30 to like 35. But regardless, he decides to enroll. He ends up, enrolling, obviously. And then he has to do a lot of training. And the first volume, I would say, let me just refresh. Yeah, the first volume is probably one of the most intense action shonen that I've read in a while. So much happens. Not only does he turn into a kaiju, there's a big boss monster that shows up. There's a bunch of characters that you end up learning about their hierarchies and like who's going to be, a secondary main character in the series. So much happens and it doesn't linger on for too much. It hits a story beat, moves on to the next thing pretty quickly. But it's enjoyable to see Kafka, who's 33, fight alongside a bunch of 18 and 19-year-olds. Because in my mind, I thought that the kids would be the ones that were more, the younger people would be the ones that are more childish. Maybe a little bit arrogant, because they're joining some sort of task force that can kill, kaiju. But I thought they would be childish, they would be kiddish, they would mess around, but they don't. They're very serious, they're very regimented and very determined, and they have a lot of admiration for the other directors and the captains. Kafka, on the other hand, is just a big oaf. He's 33 years old, he has no idea what he's doing with his life. He can turn into a kaiju, and he doesn't know how to talk to these kids. He just makes a fool of himself the whole time, which ends up being one of the large parts of the comedy, is that he ends up being the naive, silly, goofy character, which you would expect the young kids to be that, but it's not. You like that the kaiju look similar to fungus? Yeah, a lot of them do. In this first couple of volumes, there are a couple of kaiju that look kind of like, like large lizards, like a Godzilla on 4 legs kind of thing. They have tails, they don't really have eyes, they have big teeth. But a lot of them look like mushrooms. Now, I don't know if there's one character I do not want to show. I think it's volume 2, isn't it? There's a couple of kaiju that are within the first 2 volumes. I'll show you this one. They look like mushrooms. If this was in Delicious and Dungeon, they'd definitely be killing it and then adding it to ramen or some sort of stew. Reminds you of Parasite, how he became a kaiju. That's the interesting part, how he actually became the kaiju. Now, again, I don't really want to spoil too much, but that's in a mystery of itself, how he became the kaiju and why, And it's funny, when he turns into the kaiju for the first time, there's a couple of scenes where obviously, he's a normal dude. He's got no strength. He turns to a kaiju. He's got the strength of the might of Zeus in his hands, But even just leaning against a wall will break the building. And just his reaction to his overwhelming strength is just funny. There's a lot of scenes of him gasping as if to say, I didn't know this was a thing. Just seeing him This is what he looks like after he breaks a wall. He looks so scared. He's like, oh my god, whoopsies. And it happens many times. And despite how many times it's happened, it's still just as funny as the first time. And the second, and the third, and the fifth, and the 10th. But despite how funny it is, it gets very intense in the action sequences. And it's very generic. You know, Kafka builds up all his strength and his courage. I will protect the world. I will protect this team. I'll protect this one person. And he'll punch a guy. He'll punch a kaiju, and then, you know, they'll eradicate or, you know, take a lot of damage. There's a lot of like typical action scenes. It's one of my favorite tropes of all time. When a character is about to die, and you have the step in, where a character you haven't seen for a while, or a character that is overpowered, or a character that you didn't know was strong, shows up and puts an end to the fight, or opposes the enemy. That happens a lot. And sometimes you don't know who it's going to be. But I love that. I'm always interested to see who's going to show up, who's going to get the spotlight. We've spoken about his importance, about the importance of his promise to his childhood friend. Yeah, so his childhood friend, Mina, they know each other from way back when, and they both promise that they're going to eradicate all the kaiju. Because their hometown had been taken over or been invaded by kaiju, been destroyed. Anyways, Mina goes on to be one of the best kaiju slayers of all time so far. And Kafka just doesn't get anywhere. And eventually when he gets into it, he has so much admiration for her that he hasn't given up on his dream, even after 25 years of making that promise. And it's his way of like spurring himself on, the fact that he's getting slowly closer and closer to this goal, which is nice. At this point within the first 2 volumes, you can't tell if Mina's happy that he's there or not. But again, similar to him just being a stupid, goofy idiot, he slips up a couple of times. He talks to her as if like they're still best friends, when really he should be, you know, the hierarchy. He should be showing his respect, but he forgets, and he gets punished for it. Which is also funny. You get more volumes? Good. You should. Because it's great. It only gets better. More characters get introduced. The main villain shows up frequently, and he's just as creepy as he is in the second volume as he is throughout the rest of it. He's definitely, I think he's definitely one of the creepiest villains I've read about in a long time. When I see him, I feel funny in the inside. But again, like this, it's very short, Sakamoto Days and Kaiju No. 8, but I'll probably be reading both of these again very, very soon, so I can catch up. You think the villain's cool? He is very cool. I'm very interested to find out more. What's everyone's favorite out of the 3? That will be a hard decision to make based on the 3 that we read. Let me see. Can I do... What is this? Oh my god. What have I done? What have I done? What the... How do I... Where's the poll? Can I do a poll? How do I do a poll? I'm trying to do a poll right now. Ah, there we go. I can do a poll. I know not many of you join in the reading club. I know some of you have already read it. Let me do One Punch Man, Kaiju 8, and Sakamoto Days. I'm just going to do a quick poll. Feel free to join in. You don't have to. Even if you didn't read it, you just pick one. which one you thought sounded the best? I think the first volume of Kaiju number 8 is better than the first volume of One Punch Man. Both are have great humorous moments. Yeah, I would say so. One Punch Man focuses more on the comedy, whilst Kaiju number 8 has more of a story initially. So it kind of, you get attached to the characters and the world a lot more. All three are good. It is hard to determine, especially after one volume. I think if you just take the first volume of each, I think Sakamoto might be the weakest in terms of like action, because they're all very action focused. Sakamoto leans more into the comedy, I would say. I think maybe Kaiju number 8 would probably be my favorite out of them. All three of them are phenomenal. I don't think you could say Kaiju number 8 is number 1 and then One Punch Man number 2, and that means that it's terrible. I'll say Sakamoto Days, but I stopped around volume 8, I believe, as you've kept it digitally. Okay. I don't think that's a bad thing. Base time. The thing is, although they are very action, they're all very, very, very different. Only one of them is really kind of bedded in reality, which is Sakamoto Days. You know, there's no kaiju in real life. There's no superheroes in real life. All right, there's no clairvoyance, but that's really the only thing. Sometimes having a series bedded in reality, some sort of ties to reality, makes it feel more real. I guess kaiju's the only thing that makes it different. Because obviously there's no kaijus, but that's similar to Attack on Titan. The only thing that's different in that series is that there's titans, and you don't have those in real life. One Punch Man is definitely, it feels way more fantasy, just because there's so many characters that have different powers. So far kaiju, but I'm not going to get One Punch Man, and I've got a few Sakamoto Days. You should read One Punch Man online. You should try it. Sakamoto has the weakest art. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't think that's a hot take to say. He gets better. I mentioned before that his character designs aren't great. They do get better. Sakamoto is consistent because there's not really much to him. But a lot of the other characters, I don't know. They just don't feel intimidating as assassins. Some of the characters that show up later on, they're a lot more menacing. Have a lot more impact when they enter the scene. Even some of the good guys, they enter the scene, you think, oh my god, they're so badass. But if you are interested in talking more about spoilers, I do have a Discord if you are interested. I will continue all three, One Punch Man, Sakamoto Days, and Kaiju number 8. As always, you don't have to. This is just a Discord for Wednesday Book Club. I'll just be talking about the series that are live. There are a couple of old ones like On or Off. I have read Volume 2, but I haven't made a comment on Volume 2. Yeah, I'll be continuing those for sure. And there's spoiler tags on everything. So if there's, if you've only read the first volume, not the second volume of Kaiju number 8, you can still read. And anything that's spoiled is hidden. Yeah, because you were talking about John Wick, weren't you? And the Discord link is only live and accessible whilst I am live. Sakamoto has moments where the art style just shifts into something realistic. It really, it does. It does. Not just in terms of action, just in like, sometimes it gets hyper detailed in the character faces. There's like the old dude. Not really a spoiler because you don't know who he is. There's the old dude who doesn't talk, he mumbles. He looks freaky, man. He's old, loads of wrinkles and everything. He's like, mumbling to himself all the time. He's badass with his big long sword. Did you order another volume immediately after you finished? That's usually a good sign. Yeah, to be fair, I watched the anime for One Punch Man, and then I decided to pick up the manga. And then it got to a point where I used to go to the comic book store every week, and I'd get like at least 2 or 3 for 2 volumes. So anywhere between 3 and 9 volumes every week. And whenever One Punch Man came on sale, the newest volume, I just pick it up and I would read it before I got home. That's how invested I was in it. And I read Sakamoto and Kaiju both on the Shonen Jump app. And after I caught up, it got to a point where I said, you know what, I don't want to read anymore. I'm enjoying this so much, I only want to consume it physically. Because I prefer to consume a large quantity physically. I like sitting in a chair with a book, something that's tangible, and flicking through it. And every time a new volume come out, I would just buy it. And normally read it almost immediately. Off topic, have you read the Keanu Reeves comic Berserk? No, I haven't. Is it his comic or a comic that's based on him? I didn't know he had a comic, and I didn't know that, or I didn't know he had a comic based on him. Now the big question is, I might struggle potentially, depending on how long this book club goes on for, to keep up to date with everything. But there are a few, 3 series that I would really like to read. One is, there's only 1 volume out so far. And the other, there's a couple of volumes out. The first is this one. This is Magical Girl Inc. I've had this for a while now, and it did interest me sometime last year when Viz originally announced it. It is Viz, right? Yeah, Viz. I want to read this, and I haven't read it yet. So I'm going to stick this on here, because I'll be able to probably read this over the weekend. Then also, this just got an anime confirmed, I think. I'm pretty sure it is Gakuragaku, if that's how you say it. I've got volume 1 and 2. I don't know anything about any of these, but I want to pick this up. A couple of people mentioned on Instagram, like last week and the week before, they all did a buddy read, and they said it was really, really good. So I want to read this one as well. And then the last one I want to read is another one that just got an anime announcement, The Blue Wolves of Mibu, which apparently Weebdad is a big fan of. It's a historical series about samurai, that's all I can tell you. These are the dudes on the back. I don't know anything about them though. He is very passionate about it. He's already mentioned to a couple of people who have mentioned they've read it and didn't like it. Weebdad then approached them and explained the history behind, not the manga, but when the story is set, and that changed their minds. Not that you really need to know the history of anything before you read a series. At the end of the day, if you're not going to enjoy it, then you can drop it. Magulmia is nice, a fun fusion of magical girl and business drama. Well, hopefully it's good. There's volume 1, so I presume it's an ongoing series. Yes, I'll put those on. I'll put those on the Discord, and I'll also put the next few volumes of Sakamoto Days and Kaiju No. 8. I'm going to try it with some of the longer series, like One Punch Man. I want to do like bigger chunks of volumes to like cover full arcs. Like the next couple volumes of Kaiju No. 8, I think 3 and 4 cover the next section, and then the next section after that is like 3 volumes. Same with Sakamoto Days as well. So I won't always just do read 2 volumes. I think One Punch Man has a long one coming. You can probably go up to like volume 12, and then after that it's like 13 to 26 is like one big long story. So I don't know what I'll do about that. But that is book club, so I'll put those 3 on there. There are a few other series that I want to read. I've got a bunch of like volume 1s that I haven't started yet. I want to try and make a dent in those. There's loads of stuff coming out from Viz and Kodansha that I'm picking up in 7 Seas, volume 1s of everything. So, yeah. I'll try and do maybe 1 or 2 new series every single week. Might not be able to keep on top of everything, but... And obviously, I'm always up for recommendations as well, despite me probably being restricted to what I already have in my collection. Made in Abyss? I want to read Made in Abyss. Menke, you had a power cut? Oh, dude, that sucks. Well, at least you didn't get spoiled for anything. You give the last book a read for certain? The Mibu one? Let's hope it's good. Yeah, I'll stick those in the Discord probably now. And then I'll read them between now and next week, Wednesday. And then more Kaiju and Sakamoto Days and One Punch Man. Alright, I think that is it for book club. Thank you very much for tuning in. I will be live Sunday. I think I might go live Friday, maybe, depending. Actually, no, I won't go live Friday. Maybe, I want to play some Pokemon, but I don't know when. Either Friday or Saturday, but I just don't know which day. I'll just randomly go live. And we'll tackle the SSN and Lieutenant Surge and hopefully move on. Maybe catch some new Pokemon. But that is it for the Wednesday stream. If I do not see you Friday or Saturday, I will see you on Sunday for Marbles Monday. Marbles Sunday. Born, is always good seeing you, dude. I hope you're doing well and hope work isn't too stressful. Be back in another 2 months. Yes, I will see you in another 2 months. I think I might start making the VODs live again so you can just watch them on this channel as opposed to the other channel. But it's just me trying to make up time. Take it easy, guys. Thank you very much for chilling. And I'll see you all next time. Thanks to everyone who joined in the book club this week. And hopefully you join in next week. And if you don't, then I'll be here regardless. Goodbye.